Welcome into Pac-12 review. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a safe and fun New Year's holiday. Enjoyed insane bowl games, the semifinals. I was one for two on predictions, but how the games would play out in the college football playoff, at least not there. Didn't get that right, but nonetheless, at least Georgia won. Yes, I know. So sad to see, a team with 3 weeks to prepare in Ohio State, and they just couldn't hold on in the end. Well, Georgia had a lot to do with that, but nonetheless, it is Pac-12 review, and man, the Sun Bowl throughout the years, the Pac-12 that's been there has played teams from the ACC is one of those bowls that, again, has been around for a very long time and has had some crazy finishes. UCLA and Pitt, absolutely no difference there. It was watching the game again. It was an exciting game. It was a fun bowl game. Yes, there were a few opt-outs, as we have seen throughout college football. The last, 5, 6, 7 seasons in that area. But yeah, you have players that opt out because they're going to the next level. And like I said, if you're not playing for a national title game, what's the point for a player that, again, unfortunately could get hurt? And we've seen, knock on wood, unfortunately. I mean, Jamison Williams last year from Alabama got hurt in the national title game against Georgia, where he tore his ACL, but he's back on the field. The Lions drafted him. He's back on the field with the Lions. So that's good to see him on the field. But yes, playing for a national title is one thing. Playing in a bowl game where, yes, it is a reward, and the later you get into bowl season, obviously the calendar flipped to New Year's, and we have quite a few. We have a few games going on today, featuring Pac-12 schools, USC and Utah, the two teams that were in the Pac-12 championship game. But USC plays Tulane today in the Cotton Bowl, and then Utah will be in the granddaddy of them all. Yes, the Rose Bowl, as they take on number 8 Utah takes on number 11 Penn State. And like I said, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, number 10 USC taking on number 16 Tulane in that game. Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams to be featured in that game. We'll see how a Heisman Trophy winner does in the bowl game. I know in national title games, I know they've always said a lot, but that being said, it is very interesting. Again, that game will kick off at 1:00 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. So we're less than an hour away from kickoff there. But yeah, we are less than an hour away from kickoff there. And for the Rose Bowl, that'll be at 5:00 Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And both games are on ESPN, but a nice Pac-12 feature day, to say the least, especially for SC and Utah in that manner. But yes, I am Michael Carrasino, by the way, at Diablo00 here on Sideline Sports. That's where you can find me on Twitter. Hit me up, send me some messages. You have any questions? Obviously, the Rose Bowl, and not even because I'm a Pac-12 alum, having gone to ASU, having seen them in the Rose Bowl, and being to multiple Rose Bowl games. Yes, the Rose Bowl, definitely got to say, I mean, it is and when it was played on New Year's Day, after New Year's Eve, to watch the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day was always just such a great tradition, to be there and see like the Tournament of Roses parade, which is absolutely a bucket list thing. But yeah, between the Rose Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, but yeah, I would say like the Rose Bowl is definitely 1A, and the Fiesta Bowl is like 1B, just because of all the events and the history, of course, of the Fiesta Bowl as well. So from all the events and all that good stuff, but I love the Rose Bowl, and yes, it is the granddaddy of them all. So Utah and Penn State should be a great game. It looked like Utah was heading there no matter what, because had USC won and been in the college football playoff, Utah would have, I'm guessing, still got the Rose Bowl bid to play Penn State. So, and last time Penn State was there, again, not picking on the Nittany Lions, but it was a very insane game against USC. And USC ended up just squeaking out a victory. But man, what a game it was between Penn State and USC then. So looking for the same against Utah today. Two physical teams. You look at looking at the Rose Bowl in and of itself, pardon me, but for Utah, and two physical teams, again, two very physical teams. Oh, I was going to say Penn State's 2 losses on the season, because yes, they are 10-2, are to Michigan and are to Ohio State, and they had Ohio State on the ropes for a little bit in Happy Valley, but the Buckeyes just able to come back. And but yeah, the Nittany Lions weren't able to come back. And for Utah, like I said, I mean, they're 10-3 on the season. Their 3 losses, again, to a ranked Oregon team on the road, a ranked UCLA team on the road, and then Florida to start the season in the swamp on the road. So this is a team and they again, just such a physical team, Utah, the way they play. Cam Rising, again, their quarterback. I mean, when he took over the starting job, I think, 3 games into last season. And man, this young man has just absolutely blossomed. But they play such, again, a physical style of football anyway, but defense under Kyle Whittingham, who's the longest tenured coach in the Pac-12. And Utah, again, just that team that is, again, so physical, and again, they want to run the ball, but want to throw it around. And you want to talk physicality. Obviously, with Penn State and defense, you talk defense, and I know throughout the years, linebacker U is Penn State. And that being said, I look forward to this matchup. Again, 10-2 Penn State, 10-3 Utah. And Utah, the first back-to-back Pac-12 champions since Oregon did it. And that was the last time that happened was in 2010. And the interesting thing is after that season, that's when Utah and Colorado joined the Pac-12, for those of you that don't know. But yeah, ever since Utah and Colorado joined the Pac-12, there has not been a back-to-back Pac-12 champion in the conference until, like I just said, the Utes did it this year. And so I look, again, we'll get to it. But yes, it is exciting. Obviously, the Cotton Bowl, a very, very long-standing classic bowl game. And like I said, the Rose Bowl, it is just absolutely a fun day. And yes, for it to be on the second, I know I address this mostly every year when I talk to people around the bowl games, and I know it's switched to January 2nd, because again, when it falls on a Sunday with the NFL going on, it's just a lot to. And again, I'm not saying college football goes around. I mean, for years, NFL, when it fell on the Rose Bowl and was still on was on New Year's Day along, when you had the Fiesta Bowl, the Rose Bowl on New Year's. Oh, it's just, again, yes, I know I get geeked out about it, as you can see, but I love, again, bowl season again has changed, like we've talked about, from players opting out if they're not playing in the college football playoff. But look, you see the younger guys that get opportunities. They're recruited and they're there for a reason. We've seen quite a few freshmen, true freshmen, since they changed the redshirt rules anyway in college football, which if they play more than 4 games, and no, it's not off of the snaps of 4 games, but if they play in 4 games, they can play in 4 games and still keep their red shirt. If you play more than 4 games, overstate the obvious, they would lose their red shirt. But we saw quite a few freshmen that got a chance to play, and not just freshmen, but even some sophomores. So his teams look forward to next year. And that's why I say these going to bowl games, and yes, everybody wants to be in the college football playoff. You want to have a shot to win a national title. Absolutely. But those extra practices, no matter when you play, even if you play in some of the first bowl games that are around like December 12th or December 13th, 14th, 15th, like in that area, in the first half of the month, even if it's, 8 to 10 extra practices, but that's still 8 to 10 extra practices of reps. Now, yes, you slide down the calendar, obviously end of December into the new year, like we are here right now. And I look at it, and you can't put enough, to me, especially with, again, those freshmen that might be playing that may have played in a game or two, as they come in, and you see it, the development, getting the reps in practice, making mistakes, correcting them, but to see them play in the games and get that opportunity with game speed in competition is awesome. So that is the bonus to making a bowl game. And I know a lot of fans, of course, in this day and age, are going to be very, cynical and say, oh yeah, great, I want to see 2 6-6 teams battle it out just because they barely got to 6 wins, or, they have to fill. And it's always been 6 wins. And I know they're not trying to expand bowl games, I don't think, because there's 43 right now. So there's 86 teams of 122 that play in bowl games. So it's you have to fill them, but it's still a reward. And like I said, outside of the players that opt out, you get to see the younger guys in the future in those extra practices. And I think it just always bodes well for teams going into spring ball. Now that the calendar is turned, I don't feel too rushed in talking about spring ball, even though we got to wrap up some bowl games and the national title game next week between Georgia and TCU. The Horned Frogs winning here in the Fiesta Bowl. And man, what a game. That was a crazy game as well. And if but I'll get to that towards the end. Again, focusing on obviously the Pac-12, but bowl games and UCLA. Man, I thought they had the Sun Bowl. As again, Pitt obviously didn't play bad. They win it 37-35, and they outscored UCLA 16-7 in the fourth quarter to win it by 2, and they got the late field goal. to win it. Pardon me. They got the late field goal by Ben Salas, or Ben Salas, pardon me, Ben Salas, to win it. And yeah, that was again, very, very tough for UCLA, as they played a heck of a game. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, again, played in the game, didn't opt out, and unfortunately got a little banged up. And we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, games like that. And then when you look back, obviously, too, at the other Pac-12 bowl games, Oregon State got it started off with a win against Florida. I mentioned the Gators. They boated them 30-3 in the Las Vegas Bowl. And then Washington State, had a tough day against a very good Fresno State team. Washington State lost 29-6 to Fresno State. But then Oregon turned around and turned out a performance, and they beat North Carolina in another bowl game throughout the years. Yeah, I've seen some blowouts, but the Holiday Bowl has seen some insane games, Pac-12 teams that have went there, but Oregon beat North Carolina, squeaks by them 28-27 to win the Holiday Bowl. And then Washington pretty much controlled that game. Texas, I don't know if, I mean, they beat Texas 27-20. And then, like I said, Pittsburgh, which we're going to go over that game, beat UCLA in the Sun Bowl. Oh, that was the Alamo Bowl, by the way, that Washington beat Texas. And then in the Sun Bowl, Pittsburgh beats UCLA 37-35, getting a last-second field goal there. So, yeah, it was, again, a fun few days. Obviously, New Year's here. 2023, I know it's crazy, is here. And we are looking forward to, like I said, the Cotton Bowl and the Rose Bowl today. And then like the national title games a week from today, 1 week from today. As we look forward to that. Unfortunately, yes, the end of the college football season, but is it ever really truly the end with a transfer portal and obviously early signing day? A lot of guys signed, guys already in the transfer portal come into other places. DJ Uiagalelei, the former Clemson quarterback, who again is from California, came in as highly touted, just never built, you could say, the consistency at Clemson, and then coming off of Trevor Lawrence, who again a very generational talent, but just seemingly didn't take that next step. But you see the talent from this young man. Obviously, why Dabo Swinney and Clemson went after him, brought him in, and he was behind Trevor Lawrence. And even when Trevor Lawrence got banged up, he had to step in for a few games. And you thought, man, Clemson hit on another one. And he had the consistency is what it was, what it came down to, but he transferred to Oregon State. He hit the portal, and he is at Oregon State now. He's going to have to compete for the job. Ben Gulbranson, people say, oh, Uiagalelei to Gulbranson, but look, Gulbranson, as the season went on, he took over for Chance Nolan, and he again got more comfortable with the offense. Yes, they played a physical style of the ball. Yes, Oregon State ran the ball, but he's going to have to compete with Gulbranson. I mean, Jonathan Smith, who just got the extension we've talked about for Oregon State, that 6-year extension, and coming off a big bowl win, like I said, against Florida in the Las Vegas Bowl. So he's going to have to compete. But when you look at the talent and initially why he was at Clemson, and when he got on the field, even as a freshman, I see some things as a freshman, but you're like, wow. And you saw some things, and man, the arm strength's there. So look, maybe you change the scenery and we'll do him good. I know once as a quarterback, again, if you get taken out of a game, it's not like a goalie getting pulled in hockey. you can, goalie could be having a tough day, and say if they give up, say 3 goals on 5 shots, and coaches might take him out, say, oh, looking for a spark, but just so he can, the goalie can flush it. Someday it's not your day. As a quarterback, though, as we all know, it's just a little bit different. So we'll see what DJU can do. But coming into the Pac-12 again, Caleb Williams, obviously the Heisman Trophy winner, is there. Shedeur Sanders now. I know Deion Sanders' son transferring. His dad took the job at CU. He hit the portal, and he'll be at Colorado. So again, it'll be a very interesting. Drew Pine from Notre Dame transferred to ASU. So, man, we'll see the quarterbacks. I mean, it's going to be very, very interesting. And who takes, and I'll get to this in a minute, who takes over quarterback-wise at UCLA, because DTR, again, his with the COVID year, getting an extra year, but I mean, 6 years. And this young man, again, just grew leaps and bounds under Chip Kelly. So we'll see what happens there at UCLA. But the quarterbacks that are in the conference and the quarterbacks that are coming in, whoo, it is awesome. It is absolutely awesome. So, but I'm going to step aside. We'll step aside real quick. And then when we get back, I will start breaking down the UCLA Pittsburgh game from the Sun Bowl that Pittsburgh got the win. But we'll step aside and talk about that game once we get back. And welcome back to Pac-12 review here on the Sideline Sports Network. Yes, I am Michael Caratenuto. Yes, you can hit me up on Twitter at Diablos00. Any questions, any thoughts about the fun and madness of bowl season? And yeah, in the Pac-12, but if your team's outside of the Pac-12, what you thought of it, that would be fun. We can have a little talk about that. But yeah, as bowl season again wraps up, and then a week from today, the national title game, the TCU Horned Frogs taking on the Georgia Bulldogs, and that'll be an interesting game. Again, we'll get to that later, as we do have a week to talk about that. Again, no Pac-12 team, but definitely we'll have a preview of that game, by the way. And on either on Friday, well, on Friday, definitely we'll hit it. I'll hit it here on Pac-12 preview, and also doing something national championship Monday. So again, wouldn't want to see that. And then a week from Friday to break it all down, not just the Pac-12 season and where teams are going. And obviously as we get into January, but yes, students will get back on campus from winter break and talk about spring ball and transfer portal and recruiting. But again, that's just little preview to what's going to be coming up. But yes, so definitely Friday we'll talk about it. Be here Monday too for National Championship Day, as like I said, TCU and Georgia going at it for the national title. So it'll be very an interesting game. But like I said, let's get to the man. And if you didn't see it, like I say, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, as they call it, Pitt beat UCLA 37-35. And I mean, UCLA was up 21-13 at halftime. They were up 28-20 going into the fourth. And you hear these scores, and I know I said earlier, I thought UCLA had it. It never felt that UCLA wasn't in the game. They were able to do a lot. They were able to move the ball and do a lot. I mean, they even had a pick six in the game. But when you look at it, you never felt that UCLA wasn't in, obviously not that they weren't trying hard, but you didn't feel that they weren't comfortable, and I didn't feel that they weren't in control of the game. So that being said, to me, it was one of those things where for Pitt, again, to end up having a drive, and again, with the quarterback that opted out, Nick Patty, Nick Patty came in for Pitt, and he was 20 for 41. Again, hasn't started all season, but threw for 224 yards, 1 touchdown, and I mentioned the interception, which was a pick six. And then, Nate Yarnell, also for Pitt, was 1 for 2, 16 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But yeah, for Nick Patty, for him to come in and again, run the offense. Yes, you have a few weeks to get ready, but still not being a starter, as I talked about on Friday, a little bit tough to do. And when you look at it from that standpoint, it's one of those things where when you look at it from that standpoint, again, the way he played, again, it's just, again, pretty good game. You look at and their running back too. This young man had a heck of a day. Rodney Hammond Jr., 25 carries for 93 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, both rushing touchdowns for Hammond. A team that rushed for 203 yards. Nick Patty, the quarterback, who I say he had 10 carries for 72 yards, and contributing to that. But yeah, it was 46 carries for 203 total yards. So they threw for 240, rushed for 203. And receiving wise, Bub Means, yes, Bub, B-U-B, Means was the leading receiver. Pardon me. He had 4 catches for 84 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Kanata Mumfield had 7 catches for 78 yards, and then Jared Wayne had 5 for 50. So, but overall, 240 receiving yards and the 1 receiving touchdown, again, by Means for Pitt. And like I said, defensively, they did end up with 3 sacks and 7 tackles for losses. And just in key moments. So it's one of those things where when you look at when they needed a play to make it, but just again to get that sack. And I talk about it all the time, and you hear it when you're watching game and broadcast, teams getting off schedule, getting behind the chains. Yes, in this day and age of passing, if you have a 3rd and 8 to, if you don't gain any yards for a second down, to a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7 to 3rd and 10, it's one of those things where, yes, you can pick it up, but getting way behind, a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and, 18 to 20, that's one of those things where it's tough to do. And UCLA didn't have a ton, but like I said, the 3 sacks for Pitt and the 7 tackles for losses, is huge. The other huge thing is, and I'm going to get to the UCLA side now, what kept Pitt in the game, the UCLA defense did a good job. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, passing-wise, again, had a tough one time. Well, he was hit on one of them, and as he's throwing, and the ball floated. But nonetheless, he was 16 to 24. He threw for 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he did have 3 interceptions. And then, like I said, he got banged up and went out of the game. And then Ethan Garbers came in. He was 6 for 9, 39 yards, no touchdowns, and the 1 pick. So 4 interceptions on the day. But TJ Harden, Kashmir Allen didn't play. He opted out. Big time UCLA receiver. You know, I've talked about him pretty much all season long. And yeah, I've talked about him all season long. And but yeah, Kashmir Allen again missed him, but TJ Harden, I mean, he stepped up. It was huge. 11 catches for 111 yards, 10.1 per reception, and he had 1 receiving touchdown. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, that was rushing. TJ Harden rushing wise, because, well, Zach Charbonnet didn't play. Kashmir Allen didn't play either, but this is rushing. TJ Harden had a heck of a game, 11 carries for 111 yards, averaging a first down per carry, 1 rushing touchdown. Dorian Thompson-Robinson managed 5 carries for 15 yards. Again, being sacked, that factors into there, but again, able to gain a positive 15 yards on that. And it was, and he had 1 rushing touchdown as well. So, but they rushed for 141 yards altogether. So threw for 310, rushed for 141. Cam Brown, I was going to say receiving wise, Cam Brown, again, with Kashmir Allen not playing, one of their big receivers. Jake Bobo did play, but they kept him. He was bracketed a lot. They kept him pretty quiet. I mean, the 6'5" tight end receiver, Jake Bobo, who again has had a solid season for the Bruins. But Cam Brown, 4 catches for 115 yards, 28.8 per reception. Titus Mokiao, Ati Ma'alala had 3 catches for 89 yards, and he had the receiving touchdown. One of the 2 receiving touchdowns, Logan Loya, who had 3 catches for 26 yards, had the other receiving touchdown. But yeah, Cam Brown was able to go a little crazy, and Ati Malala also able to get a good amount of yards. But again, a team that had 310 receiving yards did the Bruins, averaging 14.1 per reception. But with the 4 interceptions, they also had 1 fumble lost too. So that part of it, the game, Pitt played physical, to overstate the obvious, yes, but a little bit of sloppiness from UCLA. Now that, like I said, the 1 interception, Dorian Thompson-Robinson got hit, and the ball floated, defender able to make a play on it, but still, you look at the interceptions and for Pitt, and like I said, 4 interceptions. Bengali Kamara had, well, each of these players had 1, but Bengali Kamara had 1, Javon McIntyre, MJ Devonshire, and Tyler Witz all had interceptions, and that crushed drives. And two of those UCLA, I think, was at least going to get a field goal out of it. So 6 more points, well, 41-37, UCLA wins. So it's just, again, the times that that the inopportune times, of course, as every offensive coach will tell you, and Chip Kelly would say, of the interceptions. But yeah, it was just a tough day. And even defensively for UCLA, who did have again, wasn't the biggest sack team. They did have 1 sack, but 6 tackles for losses, 5 passes defended. And then, like I said, Jalen Davies had the 52-yard pick 6. So that was huge. So when you look at it, it was still plus 3 in the interception ratio for Pitt, but UCLA was there. And again, I like their plan. Like I said, TJ Harden ran the ball very well. Keegan Jones, we saw throughout the season for the Bruins, had a lot of solid runs as well. But yeah, over just an exciting game. And it came down to the last, a last second field goal, which I mentioned by Ben Sauls, who was 5 for 5 on field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points. Nicholas Barmira didn't get to attempt a field goal for UCLA, but he was also 5 for 5 on extra points. So it's, Pitt was kicking field goals, but you figure 5 for 5, 15 points on field goals, and that did enough to keep them in the game long enough, and to obviously, like I said, get the 49-yard winning field goal from Ben Sauls. So a very exciting Sun Bowl as UCLA again falls to Pitt 37-35. But man, yeah, to me, it's one of those things where where again, it's yes, not being for, in the playoff, people say, oh, exhibition, but it is huge because that gives Pitt their 9th win of the season. Both teams finished at 9-4. But for UCLA, again, Chip Kelly, coming into the season, I know he was under 500. Now he's over 500 at UCLA in his 5 seasons there now. But obviously not on the hot seat, shouldn't be on the hot seat. And we'll see what the Bruins do. Again, a little bit of change. Obviously no Zach Charbonnet next year, no Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but I'm thinking with Chip Kelly, there's guys there in place. We know that. So, but let's now look ahead to the Cotton Bowl as Tulane at 11-2 taking on USC. And just real quick, Tulane on the season, they started off with a 3-game win streak. They beat UMass 42-10, shut out Alcorn State 52-0, and then Kansas State, they held on for the 17-10 win. And then they lost to Southern Miss, but then they rattled off 5 wins in a row. They beat Houston by a field goal, beat East Carolina, turned around and beat South Florida 45-31, beat Memphis by 10, 38-28, beat Tulsa 27-13. Then they played UCF and they lost by a touchdown. But then they won their last 3, and they beat SMU bad 59-24, held on to beat Cincinnati 27-24, and then in their championship game, they avenged the loss against UCF, which they lost 38-31. They turned around and beat UCF 45-28, did the Green Wave of Tulane, and that's how they got there. For USC, 11-2 on the season. They came out winning their first 6. They won. They beat Rice, had an early Pac-12 game against Stanford, beat them 41-28, beat up a good Fresno State team 45-17. Then went into conference play, eked out a victory against Oregon State 17-14, beat ASU 42-25, and then beat Washington State again to be 6-0. But then they went to Utah, lost to the Utes 43-42 in Salt Lake City there. And I mean, what a game that was. But then they rattle off 5 wins in a row, and they beat Arizona 45-37. They beat Cal 41-35, blew Colorado out, had that epic matchup in the Battle of LA against UCLA, where they won by 3, 48-45, turned around and controlled the game against Notre Dame, beat them 38-27. But then in the Pac-12 championship game, man, Utah, they had their way. Caleb Williams got a little banged up, wasn't as mobile Kept playing though, had a hamstring issue, kept playing though, but they lost to the Utes 47-24, which inevitably ended up knocking them out of the college football playoff. But it is one of those things where they again had a heck of a season. They definitely had one heck of a season, and 2 losses inevitably to the same team. People can say, "Oh, well, that means you shouldn't be in the playoff." But yeah, no, I disagree. But it's all set, it's done, and that's that. But yeah, no, this game against Tulane. I mean, you look at again what USC again as a team was able to do all season long. And from a stat standpoint, real quick, for those of you that didn't maybe follow SC or follow the Pac-12 or follow SC, from a team standpoint, offensively and defensively, SC is pretty much in every category in Lincoln Riley's first year as head coach for Southern Cal. In the Pac-12, they were 4th in total yards offensively, 499.8 yards per game. Yes, that was 4th. In passing yards, they were 2nd in the Pac-12 behind the Huskies, 325.7 for USC. Rushing wise, they were 5th as a team, 174.2 yards per game. And like I said, yes, that is 5th. When you flip to the defensive side of the ball in points allowed, USC was 7th, allowing 27.9 points per game. And yes, when you look at obviously getting factored into the 40 plus points they gave up to Utah in the championship game and the 40 plus points they gave up to UCLA in the Battle of LA, a rivalry game. Again, no surprise there, bragging rights and all that good stuff. So they're 7th in points allowed. In yards allowed, they're 7th as well, 415 yards a game that they are giving up are the Trojans. And like I said, that Pac-12 championship game against Utah, that game against UCLA late in the season, even the first game, I mean, points-wise with Utah, 43-42, but ton of yards in that game. So, yeah, they're 7th in yards allowed. But in sacks, this is where the Trojans on the season at the defense, which, again, I will apologize again, and I will say it to Trojan, to Fight On fans, is that I said their defense could be had. If you wanted to have a chance to beat the Trojans, you could score with them. But as this season went on, the Trojans defense, again, they're big up front, but they just got into a groove. They became very opportunistic, and they were getting sacks, bringing extra pressure, bringing 4. Didn't matter. 36 sacks on the season, which was 2nd to Utah, who finished with 38 sacks on the season. Oh, I take that back about UCLA, by the way. Correction. I was I don't know. I think I was thinking of Oregon State, not UCLA, but UCLA did have 27 sacks on the season. So, but yeah, USC, again, 36 sacks on the season. So you look at it, I mean, again, offensively, again, tops all over, and yards a game, just like I said, a millimeter there under 500 yards per game, but still 499.8. And so for Tulane, you look at Tulane, I mean, offensively, they were 5th in the American Athletic Conference. Tulane, 433.9 yards a game. Total passing wise, they were 9th with 241.2 yards a game or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, passing wise. And then rushing wise, the Green Wave, they were third in the conference, averaging 197.1 yards per game. So they definitely want to be physical. They want to try and they're going to run the ball, chew up the clock. But defensively from Tulane, pretty stout as well. I mean, they only gave up, they were second in their conference, 20.5 points per game. They gave up total yards. They were third, 342.4 per game. Sack-wise, though, they were sixth. They had 24 on the season. So, getting after the quarterback pretty well, too. So it'll be a very interesting matchup. Does this USC defense able to stop that run, be physical with them, and go from there? But yeah, Caleb Williams, again, the young man threw for 4,075 yards this season. And that was second in the Pac-12, by the way, kids, because Michael Penix Jr. threw for 4,600 yards. And yeah, that included, through the bowl game, 4,600 yards. So unless Caleb Williams is going to throw for 600 yards today, or 585 yards today ish, Michael Penix Jr. is going to finish tops in the Pac-12 passing wise. But for Caleb Williams, again, the Heisman Trophy winner, much deserved, completed 296 of 448 passes, 66.1 completion percentage, 37 touchdowns for Caleb Williams to just 4 interceptions, 37 passing touchdowns. As much as that ball, again, was in the air. I've definitely, again, given Michael Penix Jr. his well-deserved flowers this season. But think of that. Caleb Williams threw 6 more touchdowns. Again, a 31 is a heck of a season, but still, Michael Penix Jr. threw 31. Caleb Williams threw 6 more touchdowns and 4 less interceptions than Michael Penix Jr. Both of them under 10, which is phenomenal, obviously. Well, very good. And Caleb Williams under 5, which that is phenomenal. But yeah, 37 passing touchdowns for Caleb Williams. And rushing-wise, Caleb Williams was 25th in the Pac-12. He had 109 carries for 372 yards and another 10 rushing touchdowns. 10. So 47 total touchdowns for this young man on the season. And just you can understand why this young man won the Heisman Trophy. But you look at Caleb Williams there. Travis Dye started out the season hot, got banged up for SC and is out. Austin Jones came on, had 113 carries for 644 yards, averaging 5.7 per carry for the Trojans, and 5 rushing touchdowns since he has been in. Travis Dye, though, in his time, 145, in the season, 145 carries, had 884 yards, 6.1 per carry, had 9 rushing touchdowns before he went out because of injury. So again, that's a bummer for the Trojans. But again, to have somebody like Austin Jones right there, not a bad gig for Lincoln Riley. And then receiving wise, yes, USC had great receivers, but like I said, if you weren't from Washington or Arizona this year, not in the top 5. But Jordan Addison, again, right there, he was the 8th leading receiver in the Pac-12, 59 catches for 875 yards, averaging 14.8 per reception, 8 receiving touchdowns for Addison on the season. A guy, he's just, again, been a beast. And also Taj Washington, another big-time receiver for SC, 45 catches, 676 yards, 15 yards per catch, 6 receiving touchdowns for Taj Washington. Mario Williams, who got banged up and did have to miss some games, but this young man, again, when he's in there, just consistently on a tear. Mario Williams finishing 18th overall in the Pac-12 receiving-wise for 34 catches, 596 yards, 17 and a half per reception, 5 receiving touchdowns for for Mr. Williams. And so, yeah, a trio there. Also, Brendan Rice for SC stepped in nicely, too. I mean, being that, again, might be the third or fourth read for Caleb Williams on a play. But Brendan Rice, 33 catches on the season, 437 yards, 13.2 per catch, 2 touchdowns. So, but yeah, you look at those big three for USC, Taj Washington, Mario Williams, and Mario Williams, Taj Washington, and like I said, Rice. But man, they just had, again, a heck of a season. And Caleb Williams, like I said, spraying the ball around, definitely helps out. I already talked about what they can do team-wise, but yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams, it's just his understanding of Lincoln Riley's offense. I mean, that's the huge part, right? Because he was with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley gets a job. He hits the portal, checks out a few places, but inevitably he says, hey, I came to play for you. And it was a match made in I guess you could say, for the Trojans, in Trojan heaven there for USC. But yeah, playing Tulane, they by the way, USC is minus 1.5 in this game, number 10 versus number 16, and the over-under is 66. So, but yeah, I'm going to be the homer. We're going to go with the Trojans. I think, again, it'll be a fun game. I think Tulane, might be able to run the ball, but can they, if they get behind a little bit, not that they can't pass the ball, but can they do it? And I mean, rushing wise, you look at for Tulane though, Tyjae Spears, who's had 212 carries, 1,376 yards, 15 rushing TDs for Mr. Spears, saying he's active. And when I was going through notes, I did not see that he wasn't playing. So it says active. And usually for a lot of these bowl games, when you look at them, if you click on it, if you look at the player, it'll say active or inactive. So I'm guessing the junior is playing. But yeah, he the Trojans are going to see quite a bit of him on the field, Tyjae Spears. So, but yeah, Caleb Williams, like I said, I mean, 4,075 yards in the season, 37 touchdowns. It's man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting game. I like it. I think Tulane, again, can hang around for a little bit, but I just think USC, again, in the end, too much firepower. So I'm going with the Trojans in the Cotton Bowl. As we wrap up looking at the Rose Bowl, which is going to kick off again, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific in Pasadena, Utah, number 8, Utah, number 11, Penn State, the Nittany Lions. So Penn State is minus 1.5. We'll get to that first for those of you that like to put the candy money on it. Or as like my good friend Rooster likes to say, the movie money on it. Minus 1.5, over under is 54. Cam Rising on the season, like I said, I've talked about what he's meant to the team. When you look at it, it's one of those things where ever since he took over as a starter, I mean, just absolutely grown into it, which we can all see. And or people that have watched Utah Pac-12, again, they've had games on the national stage, and it's again, he's just done a heck of a job for Utah. And as a team, real quick, looking at Utah, what they did in the Pac-12, they were 5th in total yards offensively, 472 a game. Passing wise, They were ninth at 252.5 yards per game were the Utes. And then rushing wise, they were number 2 in the conference behind UCLA and just ahead of Oregon, but 220.2 yards per game rushing. And they definitely want to tote the rock. Defensively, though, again, we talk about physicality and Utah and defense. Not that the offense can't shine, because it does, but the defense shines under Kyle Whittingham. Number 1 in the Pac-12, only giving up 20.4 points per game. Yards allowed, number 1, 325.3. Sacks, number 1, 38. That's Utah's defensive preview. They're fast. They're they're physical. They're fast. Again, I love saying annoying and nasty. Annoying is a compliment. Annoying is definitely a compliment, and it's what you expect to see from a Kyle Whittingham team defensively. So for those Penn State fans that don't know much about Utah, and Penn State fans pretty knowledgeable, so it's going to be one of those things where you're going to see the physicality of Utah on display in the Rose Bowl. Not that you're not physical, you are. I'm just saying they definitely will match it, and should be an interesting game. Cam Rising, like I talked about, he finished 9th in the Pac-12 with 2,939 yards passing. So with 61 yards today passing, which I'm thinking he can get, he'll be over 3,000 again for the season. But yeah, 241 for 364, completed 241 passes, 364, 66.2% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He did get sacked 8 times this season. So very minimal times that Cam Rising did get sacked. Didn't play in the Washington State game, was out, couldn't go. So had he played in that game, he'd have been well over 3,000 yards, but still a phenomenal season for Cam Rising. And then he was 21st in rushing in the Pac-12, by the way, too. 68 carries, 409 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry. And he did have 6 more rushing touchdowns. So if he needs to use the legs, he definitely can. Defensively, Clark Phillips III led the conference in interceptions. He was tops. He had 6 on the season, did Clark Phillips III. So again, a heck of a season there, and a secondary that's very advantageous just in general. But yeah, teams went at him, and sometimes I didn't understand why. But nonetheless, he is the ball hawk, and he is the ball hawk for Utah. When we look at Penn State real quick in the Big Ten, they were 3rd in total yards, 432.4 yards a game. They were 4th in passing yards, 250.3 yards. And then rushing, of course, they had 182.1 yards per game. They were 4th in the conference. Defensively for the Nittany Lions, they were 5th in points per game allowed at 18. Yeah, that's 5th. So at 18 points. And then yards allowed, Penn State was 7th. They allowed 317.9 yards a game, did the Nittany Lions. But what a shock. I was going to say, what a surprise. Number 1 in sacks with 37 is Penn State. So absolutely no, zero, zilch surprise. Surprise there for Penn State, because they just, again, get after the quarterback. And Abdul Carter had 6.5 sacks. So again, 37 is spread out, but Abdul Carter leads Penn State. Say, look out for him he had 6.5 sacks on the season for the Nittany Lions. But yeah, very excited for this Rose Bowl game. Again, Utah fell short to Ohio State last year in the Rose Bowl. Kyle Whittingham looking to get the win. And I know a lot of you know how I feel about a lot of Big Ten teams in general. But it's tough to pick against Penn State in the Rose Bowl, but I'm doing it. Utah, I'm not picking against Kyle Whittingham. I always make that mistake. I think Utah wins this game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be like the Utah USC game, like 43-42. I can see like a 45-44, 45-42 score, something like that. So yes, I definitely have the over, but again, don't listen to me. Well, listen to me-ish, but again, if it's movie money, have fun with it. Again, Penn State -1.5, over under is 54. So, man, it'll be a definite fun game, fun bowl day. They're kicking off. They're basically kicking off now. So I am done. We are out of here. Again, Michael Caratenuto here at Diablo00 on Twitter. Hit me up, follow me. I will see you Friday for Pac-12 preview. Again, we'll talk about these games. It'll be kind of a preview-ish, and we'll start previewing the national title game on Monday between TCU and Georgia. Georgia going, obviously, for back-to-back national titles under Kirby Smart. But it'll be very, very interesting. So going to get out of here. Everybody enjoy the bowl game. Again, Happy New Year. Make 2023 great. And enjoy the football today. Enjoy the football, college football, and then Monday Night Football too, because we'll be talking about that. Yes, shameless plug on the Sports Arena tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern here on the Sideline Sports Network. So I will see you on Friday. Enjoy the bowl games. Enjoy football. And as always, yes, I am a homer. Forks up.